Hello and welcome to Beacon of Speech. What is Beacon of Speech? We are selling freedom of speech to everybody. We're like our own little cult with no followers. I'm Fred Hunt. Right across the table from me is Ted Coley. Hi, Ted Coley.
Hi, Fred.
How are you today?
All right. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing awesome. I'm worried because, again, we do our show on the laptop. I forgot the laptop cord, so I don't know if we're going to be able to do a full hour and a half show. We have to watch very closely. See right here in the upper right-hand corner where it says 50%?
Oh, yeah.
If that gets down to 1%, we got to save it because it'll erase everything if it goes dead. Okay, so not only are we watching the sound today, but we are watching the battery storage capability.
So believe it or not, we actually have problems.
Yeah, we have I have a lot of problems, but we have extra problems today on Beacon of Speech. First topic today, I have a new hero this week, which I told you about. You know who my new hero is? I told you. Do you remember?
Wait a minute, don't tell me. Oh yeah, I know who it is. It's the guy from R.E.M, Peter Buck.
Peter Buck from R.E.M. And this is why I'm talking about it. Peter Buck of R.E.M. R.E.M. is the alternative rock band from the 80s and 90s. They're very popular. 5 years ago, they walked away from everything and they said, we quit. Right?
It was 5 years ago?
5 years ago. Now, a lot of bands say they quit and then they show up the next year and they're at a festival. Or, like, let's use other cases like... who are the British brothers? Oasis. Okay? They broke up because they hated each other. It didn't have anything to do with... So, R.E.M. broke up and they were a little cryptic. They're like, we're just done. Right? Well, what's the secret? Does Michael Stipe hate them? Does Peter Buck hate them? And so I saw an article on RollingStone.com this week, and I'll rehash it even though I already told Ted this earlier this week. RollingStone.com basically said, why'd you break up? And Peter Buck said, I still enjoy writing music, I still enjoy performing music, and I still enjoy recording music. Well, then what's the problem? Well, he hates the music business. Well, what do you hate about the music business, Peter Buck? He said, everything. Okay? He didn't even narrow it down. He said everything from the lawyers to the PR agents to the tour managers to everything. The whole business, the whole music business is dirty as hell.
You know, it must be really hard to deal with when the business world ruins something you love.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yep. And that's what he said. In the Rolling Stone article, again, Peter Buck says, I work as hard today as I did when I was working as a part of R.E.M. The difference is, when I was R.E.M., when we left, we were making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Today, I do what I want, and I make nothing. Well, a lot of people don't have the opportunity to do nothing, right? So he kept saying over and over, I'm very blessed. He said he loves Michael Stipe. I don't remember what the other guy's name is, something Mills. But he goes, we're still friends. We're still in business together. We still are R.E.M., the three of us, and then, their old drummer. But they said that they still love each other. And they said they wanted to step away from the business before they learned to hate each other. And now you are in a band, right? Now, if you saw your band members today, if they came in and said, hey, Ted Coley, you don't hate them. You wouldn't be like the brothers in Oasis. You would not take a swing at any of them, would you?
No, I don't. They might take a swing at me. But I would not take a swing at them.
But knowing you a little bit, you don't seem like the Axl Rose type. I have a hard time believing that you're up there, 2 hours late, and then you get there. You're lucky that I'm here, and then
No, I was neurotic, but I was not like Axl Rose, like belligerent. I was neurotic, but not belligerent.
A fine line between neurotic and belligerent.
I was a well-behaved neurotic.
That would have been a good name for your album. A fine line between belligerent and neurotic.
A fine line between what?
Belligerent and neurotic.
I mean, is that a good word for Axl Rose? Belligerent?
Oh, yeah.
But he was also neurotic, too.
Oh, yeah. He had every, some people, me and Bob were talking, one of the guys we work with, we were talking about Jim Morrison, right? And there's a difference between being like crazy because you're crazy and crazy because you're out of your mind on drugs. You know what I mean? And I kind of got the impression that Jim Morrison was, now you could correct me, but I got the impression that Jim Morrison wasn't crazy, like, put me in a rubber room. He was crazy because he did a boatload of drugs. Would you say that's probably fair?
Yeah, probably.
Whereas Axl Rose wasn't crazy because he did a boatload of drugs. He was crazy like, I'm mentally ill.
Yeah.
I
I almost think Jim... I almost think Jim Morrison was almost like an intellectual.
Right.
I mean, I heard that he was very intelligent.
Yeah. So he wasn't like crazy,
Yeah.
crazy intellectual, like Sheldon from Big Bang Theory that we always come back to.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And that's why I'm like, so anyhow, back to Peter Buck. So he's my hero. He's talking about how horrible the music business is. He says he would like, he was with R.E.M. basically from what, 82, 83 to about 2012-ish, maybe 2011. So it's about 30 years.
That's a long time.
So that is a long time. And to still be friends with your other bandmates, that's great. Okay, so I read the article and I'm like, Peter Buck, everything he says makes 100% sense to me, right? And in where I am in life, the way I think, everything. I'm like, this is a very well thought out and rational person, Peter Buck, right? So
and he was the guitarist, right?
Yes. Then I go and read the comments at the bottom of Rolling Stone, and everything was negative. Oh, it must be nice to be philosophical after you make your money. And they're like, oh, another spoiled rock star. And I'm like, I didn't get that at all. Usually when bands break up, it's because you hate somebody or you just can't work together. Very rarely do bands break up. And they said, like one of the lines Peter Buck said was, he said, I'm kind of burned out on the same songs I was performing 20 years ago. I would like you to hear our new album, which I think is really good. Well, 99% of the fans were like, just play Losing My Religion. And just like
so basically, it's not necessarily just like the record label that he was upset with. It was also the fans just wanting to hear the same old.
Right. And but again, the record, whoever the tour manager is.
Because like when you said the business.
Yeah.
You think right away, you think of like, the record label,
yeah.
if that's even the phrase they still use.
Let's put it this way, because you were in the business very, on a basement level, right? Yeah. But I think what they were saying is we would like to perform our new album. We think it's great. And the tour manager is like, listen, you charge $38 a ticket, you got to play Losing My Religion. Well, we played it 10,000 times. Yeah, we'll go ahead and play it 10,000 more times. You're R.E.M. You know what I mean? And again, that part I had to read into, because you can't come out and say, I hate the fans. That's a losing proposition.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what he was saying is that we wanted to grow, and the people in the business said, listen, it's 2010, you don't get to grow anymore. You know what I mean? This is your box. Go sit in your box. And Peter Buck, I think the only reason he went and talked to Rolling Stone is because he has a new solo album. And people keep asking him, when's R.E.M. getting back together? He's like, I don't know. Maybe not at all. And they're like, well, what's wrong? There has to be something wrong. No, I'm just done. Can't you? And it goes back to, okay, now we're in America, right? R.E.M. seemed at peace with, we started in 1980, whatever. We ended in 2010. We did our things. We're still making money from, our old albums, our old singles. Right? We are at peace with that. Okay? There's something very American about, what are you doing? Well, you can't, I got to keep going. Sing it. You know how much more money you could make if you kept singing Losing My Religion at these festivals?
Yep.
It's like, well, and one of the lines Peter Buck, I think, said, he's like, I don't need a third swimming pool or something like that. Well, why don't you want a third swimming pool? If you can make another $500,000 and get another thing going, why wouldn't you do that? And like I said, I'm reading this, and R.E.M. is not one of my favorite bands. I'm not the biggest R.E.M. fan, okay? To me, they were just too light, too, I don't know, too poppy.
Yeah.
And as you know, we have talked about this many times. I am not the light, poppy type of guy. You know what I mean? Because there's pop music, but then there's like...
another Seinfeld reference, Poppy.
Yeah, Poppy. Hopefully Peter Buck doesn't wet the airline seat the next time he's flying. But I don't like, there's very few pop bands that I like. And the pop bands that I do like are in the area of R.E.M. You know what I mean? I don't like real pop. But like one pop band I always liked was In Excess, right?
Yeah.
In Excess, they're all right. They were good for what they were. You know what I mean? And they weren't that far away, but I like my music more extreme, whether it's metal, rap, whatever. You know what I mean? And the R.E.M. just did not cut it for me, but there were some songs I liked. You know what I mean?
You know what's funny? You were talking about Peter Buck. That is his name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Him saying that, you get tired of playing Losing My Religion.
Right.
And one thing I will give like Glenn Frey credit for is that he addressed that. He said, he goes, I'm tired of singing some of these songs too.
Yeah.
Like Take It Easy. He goes, but you got to realize that some of the people in the audience, this might be the only chance in their life they get to hear that song.
Right.
But so it's like you got to go out there and do it.
And you just made my whole point. Okay? The Eagles were businessmen. Again, David Bowie died, and we talked about this on the show. David Bowie died. Oh, we love, Glenn Frey dies, and everybody's like, well, he made his money. You know what I mean? And I respect Peter Buck that said, you know what, our heart's not in it, and we're just going to step away. Now, the Eagles, I really got the impression that they were like, they stepped away and they came back and blah, blah, blah. On some level, they were like, well, we got to sing the hits because that's what makes us money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At some point, there's bands out there who don't play the hits. They'll play their new album, and then people won't go see them, and their career's over. Well, R.E.M. just shortened it up a little bit. You know what I mean? They're like, well, we're done. Now, he also opened it up, and R.E.M. is very socially conscious. So say there's a festival in Seattle that raises money for some charity that they love, or in Georgia for some charity that they love. I'm sure they would get back together for a one-off.
That's where they're from, right? Georgia?
Yeah, Athens, Georgia.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't say they're totally gone, but they said, the days of the R.E.M. World Tour, they're like, we don't blow through our money. You know what I mean? And I wish I had the article in front of me. I wish we could punch it up. But I think he was like, well, none of us are drug addicts. We all put our money in the bank.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, again, I read it, and I 100% agreed with him. I'm like, say it was 5 or 6 years, it'd be one thing. But, I mean, any job, you work there for 30 years, and, you're like, well, you know what? Maybe we should, if we can step away, we can step away. And when you're a musician, if you can still play music into I think they said Peter Buck was 58. 58, if you made some money, that's not a bad age to retire if you're a musician.
58? Yeah, I guess
Ted is scratching his head.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I guess that sounds about right that they would be about that old. I was thinking at first, like, wow, I didn't realize they were that old.
Well, but if they retired 5 years ago, that was 53. And then for the last 5 years, he basically said he does what he wants. That's what you do in retirement. You do what you want. So everything made sense.
Fertilize your lawn every day?
Yeah. We have a coworker who said he just wanted to retire and groom his lawn. I mean, that was his only goal. What do you want to do? Well, not be here. Well, what do you want to do, though? But not be here. Like it just kept spinning around in his head. Like he didn't care, like he didn't understand. Well, what do you mean? What would I do? I wouldn't be here. So, but like I said, the whole article I agreed with, and then it upset me at the end. All these comments are like, oh, Peter Buck's a jerk. Peter Buck's a rich rock star. If I saw Peter Buck, I would punch him. I'm like, who are these people?
Well, I'll admit, I'm jealous of them.
Oh, well, I'm jealous of them too. But again, I'm like, there's something to be said for, the sports analogy of stepping out on top. You know, Peyton Manning retired. He's like, I love football. I love football. You know, at some point you do have diminishing skills. Even, you know, the Rolling Stones are still going at it and they're in their 70s. Well, you're reliving in your mind the Rolling Stones. They're like, oh, they put on a great show, just like when they were young. I've seen the Rolling Stones when they were in their 50s. They're not putting on the same show that they were putting on in their 20s. Rolling Stones fans, yeah, oh, yes, they are. Oh, guess what? I'm not, and they're not. It's the same thing. It has to do with, you have to at least admit that Father Time exists. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean those guys are amazing. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
just that they're still doing it.
And don't get me wrong, they are doing, for their age, they're doing a great job. And they work out and they do their diet. They do everything. Just don't tell me that it's the same sexy 28-year-old Mick Jagger strutting along. And I'm like, well, that's great that he's a 70-year-old guy with a lot of energy. Well, guess what? I watch marathons every week on ESPN, and they always have, like, a senior section. And, you know, they always have one or two grandpas who are like, this is my third marathon. I started running marathons in my 50s. Well, guess what? He ain't keeping up with the people in their mid-20s. And I'm not saying all musicians at 30 have to quit. I'm just saying you have to pay at least some respect for somebody who has an artistic vision and says, you know what, we're just going to step away. Now I have two topics. I'm going to skip over the next one because here's what it is. We're going to skip this because this will be a fast one. Talking about music, you know CBS Radio, right?
Yes.
CBS Radio is a national. They own. They're what? The second largest radio company in the United States, probably behind Clear Channel or iHeartRadio or whatever they're called, right?
Mm-hmm.
CBS Radio, whatever part of CBS that they are, CBS is selling CBS Radio, and they said bye bye CBS Radio. Now locally, CBS Radio is the Fan. And I believe it is 98.5 NCX. Does that sound right?
I'm not sure.
Well,
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure it's those two, but, you know, it's right down the street. But it's one of the largest radio companies in the world, right? And they're splintering off and saying, see you later. Now, their parent company is, and now this is...
they're just selling the radio division?
Just the radio division.
Who are they selling it to?
They're basically selling it. You know how we sold shredding?
Yeah.
Well, they're not part of us anymore. Well, yeah, they are. Well, they're for sale. Well, who's going to buy them? Nobody's buying them. Well, you see what I'm saying?
So they're up for sale.
CBS Radio is up for sale.
Okay.
Why are they up for sale? I read it this week, and you'll get a big kick out of it.
Why are they up for sale? Because they're losing money.
Close. CBS Radio started in 1928. I wrote it down. I'm circling it right now.
Wow.
They said as of 2016, radio is no longer a growth industry. And so they want to dump it before it starts bleeding over into the rest of the company. So again, you know, do you have $1? Well, we don't want to sell it for $1. We want to sell it for $100 million. Well, you just said in the magazine article that it was no longer a growth industry. Well, it's no longer a growth industry for us. Maybe you can make it happen. And it's like, because we are in one of those industry that's no longer a growth industry. And that's why I'm like, holy cow. So basically, CBS Radio, and you don't know what'll happen. Maybe they'll merge. Maybe they'll go over here, basically, they're around for 80 years. And what put them out of business, okay, which is going to lead to this right here, okay? Now, and I know you can't see it, but I'm holding up the Sports Illustrated with a UFC guy on it. What killed radio? Did radio die because of the internet, or did radio start dying because they played the same 8, like on WNCX, they played the same 8 classic rock hits over and over and over for 20 years. That they didn't stay with the times. They basically took formats and ran them into the ground and drove people to Sirius and internet radio.
You know, the thing is that there's still so much potential. And in my opinion, for radio.
Right. Go ahead. I don't know. Hopefully this keeps going. Go ahead.
I mean, I agree with what you just said.
Right.
It's because they... I mean, maybe it would have been diminished regardless.
Right.
But they sure didn't, help their case.
Now, here's what I have to say. I am not a fan of Rush Limbaugh, but I do listen to him. But what I'm a fan of is what he does, okay? And I remember when I was a kid, like in the 80s, and they said AM radio's dying. In 10 years, there won't be AM radio. And they said Rush Limbaugh single-handedly saved AM radio. Now, you could say that's true or false. I believe it, okay? Because I remember AM radio just going down the toilet.
Yeah.
Now they'd be like, oh, well, it's filled with right-wing hate mongers, right? But they still saved AM radio.
Yeah.
Now CBS Radio is admitting that radio on a whole, well, guess what? Instead of playing the same classic rock hits like the Rolling Stones, you cannot go a day without hearing Rolling Stones on the radio, okay? Why don't you try a different format? Why don't you throw something else out there and then try and grow it? Well, our analytics say that what people want to hear, well, that's your problem. And it's the same thing in our non-growth business. You're not looking forward. You're trying to squeeze every red cent out of this business before it dies instead of trying to grow the business. It's the same thing with radio. Now, that's how I believe some radio guy could hear this, call me up and say, well, Fred, you're totally wrong. We have great ideas, but then they won't put money behind it. Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. If you have 6 stations, right, instead of doing all 6 with classic formats that have already been beaten into the ground, try 4 stations with classic formats, and 2 where you're trying to go on the edge and get a new audience. Well, that's not fiscally responsible. We gotta, well, guess what? You're losing money like newspapers and data protection. You know what I mean? So, to me, radio...
So there is no buyer yet, right?
No.
They're just
pounding
the for sale
yes.
sign.
Now, which leads us to the Sports Illustrated, okay, which I was holding up. Okay, this is Conor McGregor, okay?
Not to interrupt, but
go ahead.
Did they say how much they're asking for it?
No, they just said it was for sale because it's not a growth business, and it kind of hit a nerve, okay? Now, I have the Sports Illustrated from 2 weeks ago. See this angry man that you would not want to meet? That's Conor McGregor, okay? And he is the face of UFC. Now, what does UFC have to do with radio? Okay?
I don't know.
Well, I'm going to ask you, did you read Sports Illustrated when you were a kid?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
Did you ever see a UFC fighter on the cover of Sports
No.
Illustrated? No.
No.
Because UFC did not mix martial arts,
It didn't
judo.
exist back then. Right?
Yeah, or it was on the fringes.
Yeah.
Like indoor soccer.
Yeah.
Right? You know who was on the cover in 1986 or 87? Probably Larry Holmes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, guess what? Boxing killed itself. UFC did not kill boxing. Boxing killed itself by corrupt decisions, not growing the sport. Oh, we don't want to have any boxing on TV. We're only going to do pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And they literally squeezed every nickel out of boxing until they basically killed it.
Yeah.
And now, in 2016, you have a guy from UFC. UFC did not exist when we were kids. It just didn't. Because UFC is basically Dana White. Now, people can be like, oh, well, UFC, they suck. You want to go strike force, blah, blah, blah. No. It doesn't matter what MMA you're talking about. The whole premise is mixed martial arts would never have been on the cover of Sports Illustrated 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. It just wouldn't. And the boxing analogy goes for radio. As much as Sirius might have Sirius satellite radio and internet radio might have pushed terrestrial radio to the side because they had better content, radio basically killed itself. Just like boxing killed itself and these other guys came in and filled the void. Mm-hmm. So radio can turn around and say, well, we're going to try and do this, do that, Right? Well, guess what? It's too late. You know what I mean? You should have been doing that 20 years ago. You should have been trying to nurture the medium.
Well, you know, the thing is that I don't think it's too late, because they could change their format or whatever you want to call it tomorrow if they wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
They won't do it, though.
Right. Well, because in the short run, we'd lose money. And how do we know there's an audience out there? Our market research says that there's no audience. Well, guess what? You're not going to have a company in 10 years if you don't do something. Well, how about this? How about we squeeze every penny out of it for 5 years, and then we'll worry about it then? There's no nurturing or growth of the product per se.
So they would rather know for sure that it's dying and just follow that path instead of taking a chance and maybe making it live.
Right. Which, again, goes back to this. Okay? Now, if you know you're dying, you know, they always talk about the people with cancer. They'll be like, oh, well, if you try drinking a gallon of milk every 6 hours, you could live. Oh, okay, I'm desperate. I'll try it. And then they die anyhow. Well, it's the same thing with radio. Or the same thing with boxing. Maybe boxing should try and be less corrupt. No, we want to squeeze every corrupt nickel out of the sport that we can. Now.
Yeah, radio in general drives me crazy.
Right. And that's my whole point. Now, we'll use the boxing to radio analogy. I don't know anything about Conor McGregor, but I'm looking at a picture of his heavily tattooed body. How old would you say Conor McGregor is, just by looking at him? Just a guess.
Just by looking at him. Oh, boy.
And again, all I know is that he's a UFC fighter. That's literally all I know about him.
Oh, well, I'll just say 35.
Okay. Now, can you name any boxers?
Do you know how old he is?
Oh, no, I have no idea. He looks like he's about 30. How many boxers can you name under 35 years old?
How many boxers can I name under 35?
Yeah.
Not too many.
The correct answer is 0. You still got people fighting like the big fight, Pacquiao and those guys were both in their mid-30s.
Was it Manny Pacquiao?
Yeah, Manny Pacquiao and I forgot the other guy, the jerk.
Merriweather?
Merriweather, the jerk, and Pacquiao. They were both in their mid-30s. The time they should have fought was 10 years beforehand. And Conor McGregor, all the people in UFC is young. You know Ronda Rousey because you watch the news.
Yeah.
You know, the female, she's got to be in her mid-20s. You can't name any boxers under 35 years old because they bled the sport dry. Just like radio. I'm listening to Rush Limbaugh, and I'm like, I used to listen to Rush Limbaugh in college 30 years ago. Well, how old is Rush Limbaugh? Rush Limbaugh's like 66 years old.
Yeah, I think he's 65.
And so you think of all these people, Glenn Beck, there's no way he's under 50.
Glenn Beck, I think he's 52.
And even Howard Stern, he's like 58, 60, right? Who are the next young comers in radio?
Us.
We're not that young.
We're younger than them.
But that's why I'm talking about nurturing the sport. Where's your 28-year-old, and again, I'm in my 40s, right? Where's your 28-year-old guy who's mad at the world, who's not afraid to come out and say, you know, the world sucks, you should be listening to the Alternative Press Music Awards, and Bullet for My Valentine is the best rock band there ever was. Right? I only know that one because my daughter told me. Okay?
What's the name?
Bullet for My Valentine. But all they are is Motley Crue wannabe from, you know, in their 20s. Okay? A lot of the people who are popular on alternative press, not all, but a lot of them, like the Black Veil Brides. The Black Veil Brides are basically Motley Crue from 1984. Okay? But at least they're young. At least they're in their 20s. You know what I mean? So music should be like, we love the Black Veil Brides. We ain't playing this 50-year-old crap. We're Black Veil Brides. You know what I mean? You don't hear the Black Veil Brides on any stations. Radio kills themselves like boxing killed themselves. And again, granted, other companies expedite it. But I've said it before that I believe in radio. But that's why I do the show, because I think that I'm a different voice, and of course I want to get a job, right? But you can have different things on radio than, like I said, WNCX. I used to love WNCX. I don't know what happens is our screensaver keeps coming up on the computer, and it doesn't usually do that. So now that we're heavily distracted, webcasting, I don't know if it's feasible. Like I said, I like the live experience better. In order for radio to work, it has to be live. That's the advantage it has over podcasts.
Well, you know what else is funny? Talking about radio, it's like you basically had Rush Limbaugh come along about, 30 years ago?
Yes, mid-'80s.
With, right-wing talk.
And there was nothing like him on the radio.
Okay, he came along and just totally changed everything.
Right.
Which is good, but then you have 1,000 imitators who came after him.
Right.
And basically on the other side, you had Howard Stern do the same thing.
Right.
And 1,000 imitators.
Yeah.
So basically just those two guys and everybody else imitating them.
Yeah.
It's like, isn't it time for somebody new to come along?
Yeah, you would think so.
I mean, don't get me wrong, both of those guys are great.
Yeah.
But it's like, how many imitators can you have?
Oh, and like I said, that Rover guy in Cleveland just drives me crazy. He is, you know what he is? Howard Stern is Budweiser, Rover is Bud Light. Okay? I mean, it's literally that cut and dry. It's amazing. Oh, well, Howard Stern's on. I don't want to hear it. And it's the same thing. Oh, I got my guy. I got my sidekick. I got the female news reporter. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, everything's a formula.
Yeah.
And then they beat it into the ground.
Yeah, we did a matrix examination. We see that they like a white male is the main guy, and then a sidekick who's preferably ethnic, but not too ethnic. And then there has to be a female voice in there, like reading the news or doing the, and it's like everything is a formula. And like I said, don't get me wrong, if you want to have a formula, that's fine, but don't put formulas on everything, especially if you have more than one station in the market. Well, yeah. iHeartRadio is like, well, now you can do it online. Now you can do this. Now you can make your own radio station. Now they're trying to compete with Pandora. Well, just like Blockbuster Video and Hollywood Video, they were video stores. When they tried to compete with like Redbox and other places, they just went right down the toilet.
And you know what's funny? It's like when Howard Stern first came out,
right?
His bosses fought him tooth and nail.
Tooth and nail.
You can't be doing that. You can't be doing that. You can't be doing that. You got to stick to this or
right.
whatever. Then he finally became successful, and now those same guys are the ones who are probably telling everybody else, you have to follow the Howard Stern formula.
Yeah. Well, and
so the ones who fought him tooth and nail are the ones who are saying, you can't stray from this Howard Stern formula.
I used to listen to Howard Stern, but I did not love it like you did, okay? And so you have to help me. A couple of years ago, there was a trade magazine, I think it was Talkers magazine, I'm not even 100% sure. But I guess Howard Stern was mad because the guy pig vomit, right? He, in a magazine article, said, at the end of the day, I was partially responsible for Howard Stern's success because I'm the one who pushed his buttons, and he reacted off of me.
He ended up with, what, Clear Channel?
Yeah, he's somewhere in Cleveland now.
Pig vomit, or pig virus, or whatever they called him.
Yeah. And it's like...
And he's the one who fought Howard Stern tooth and nail,
yeah.
right?
Now, after the fact, he's like, well, at the end of the day, I'm the one. If he didn't play off of me, we wouldn't have had our little... It's like, it's amazing how you can rewrite history. I'm sorry, Ted's shaking his head. So, back to where we were at. Conor McGregor, I keep hearing his name. He looks like a bad man. And you know what? I know because my wife got a tattoo. You see these tattoos this guy's got? You know how expensive those tattoos are? I mean, those are like top-end tattoos.
Yeah, they look like it.
You know what I mean? Those aren't, I'm in the Navy. But the whole thing is that Sports Illustrated, whether it's true or not, it's like one of the faces of sports news. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it just boggles my mind that there's a guy from UFC on the cover. It's February. You know what should be on the cover? Hockey. Okay? Well, I know Ted's laughing because he knows I love hockey. Hockey, basketball. Okay? Why is UFC on the cover? You look inside. Look, the first story, Gary Payton II. Oh, I don't want to read about that.
No, I assume UFC, there's not like a season. It's just all the time,
all the
right?
time. Yeah, they have their events, like the Super Bowl. I think they're up to like UFC 193. But it's like every quarter they have an event. Like UFC 177, and then whatever happens. They're like, you remember UFC 177?
Now, do you ever watch any of that?
Oh, no. I'm going to tell you a secret about me, and I have talked about this on the radio before. Horror movies, I used to love them. You know, I've seen all 8 Nightmare on Elm Streets, blah, blah, blah. Now that I'm older, it upsets me. Horror movies upset me. Okay, I try and watch them. It's very upsetting to me that it upsets me. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with sports. I watch UFC a couple of times. I'm like, that guy's going to kill that guy. Yeah. Right? And, like, I'll give you an example. I like to watch rugby on TV. It's not on very often, but I like to watch rugby. Right? And I always say, I don't know how somebody's not killed. Okay? The point of rugby is not really to kill the other guy. That's a side effect. Just like in hockey, it's not to beat up the other guy. It's a side effect. UFC, all you do is kill the other guy. There is no other point to the sport. And so, not that I find it distasteful, because like I said, it's the cousin of boxing. Now that I'm older, I cannot stomach UFC. I just can't.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not everybody, and a ton of people in the United States love UFC. I don't begrudge them that. And I'm not saying don't watch UFC. I'm just saying now that I'm getting older, I can't handle it.
Yeah.
And I'm not the market anyhow. I'm out of their demographic anyhow. They don't care. They're like, we're not selling the pens, Fred Hunt. Yeah, so we don't care if you like UFC or not.
Yeah, I mean, I never liked seeing, like somebody get hurt. I never enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But it's like, it seems like the older I get, the more it affects me. You know what I mean? It's like when Joe Theismann broke his leg.
Ugh, yeah.
I remember, watching that as it happened. And I don't think it bothered me that much. Like, now, it's like I wouldn't watch that again.
Right.
Because it would just upset me.
Yeah.
I mean, it upset me back then, but I could deal with it. Now it's like, no, I don't even want to see that.
Well, just so you know, maybe I'll make you read it. You read about, because there's a longer article in here. I'm going to make you read about Conor McGregor and make you tell me about him later. But I'm going to give you the Sports Illustrated. And like I said in the corner.
So I have homework now? Or
what was it?
I have homework
You have
now?
homework. I'm going to assign you homework. Okay. Now, and this just proves how popular UFC is, too. See in the corner? This is the other story. My father-in-law had me watch this race. By a nose. The greatest great American race ever, talking about the Daytona 500. See that picture right there? Mm-hmm. That was the photo finish. That was the guy who came in first. That's the guy who came in second. That's how close the race was.
Now, was this recent?
Yeah.
When was that? Do you know?
Oh, it's got to be like 2 weeks ago. But it says it was the greatest race ever, right?
So that's NASCAR, right?
NASCAR. Now, 30 years ago, let's say that Larry Holmes wasn't on the cover. They wouldn't have UFC on there. They'd have NASCAR on the cover. You know what I mean? Yeah. NASCAR has fallen that it's not more popular than a UFC fighter.
I'm just surprised because my stepdad loves NASCAR, and I don't think he said anything about this.
Well, but that's my whole point, yeah. Because my father-in-law likes some of the NASCAR. So I got people on my wife's side of the family who'll watch it, but I'm not a big NASCAR guy. I remember my grandfather, when I was, again, impressionable, he used to watch a lot of wrestling, right? But, we never had any pay-per-view events. Whether it was boxing or anything, we never watched pay-per-view. Whatever's on TV is what you're watching. Whatever's on ABC Wide World of Sports, that's what you're watching. We're going to watch downhill skiing from Austria.
Yeah. agony of defeat.
Yeah. All right, Ted. I put it off as long as I can. We're in minute 40. Next topic, and I don't even want to talk about this, but we have to, okay? Because we have a prediction that came up. The inevitability of Donald Trump versus Hillary Clinton. Okay? That's the topic. We're going to get into this, and I might beat my head on the wall. I might ask Conor McGregor to punch me in the head. Okay? On February 18th, 1 month ago, right? We said who is going to win the Ohio primary, which was earlier this week. The winner was John Kasich. People flooded the polls to vote for John Kasich. Okay? Fred said that Donald Trump would win. And he didn't want anybody to win. Okay? I eventually changed my tune and I said I wanted Kasich to win. But a month ago I said I didn't want anybody to win.
But you said Trump would win.
Trump would win. I said I wanted a meteor to hit Ohio that day. Okay, now, I want to get this on record because we're going to talk about this in a minute. Okay? I'll get more into it. I voted for Kasich, not because I like Kasich, and not because I hate Trump. I want blood in Cleveland. I want there to be blood on the convention floor. I want Donald Trump's delegates to go out and punch Ted Cruz's delegates while they're punching Rubio's delegates, while they're punching Ben Carson's 5 delegates. Okay? That's what I'm rooting for. So I said Trump would win, and I was incorrect. Okay? I was incorrect. Ted, you said you wanted Cruz to win. You still feel that way about the nomination, right? That you want Cruz to win?
Yes.
But you said that Trump would win.
Yeah.
Okay? But you also said Kasich will be close.
No, I did say that?
Yes. So I said that Trump was going to win big. You said Trump, but Kasich will be in it. Okay? In the last month, I changed my vote from nobody to a meteor hitting Ohio. Okay? Why was the prediction made? Because 1 month ago, the Donald Trump said that the Pope needs to... What was the famous line you used?
It's a line I used?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great line about the Pope. The Pope needs to mind his own business or something.
Yeah, Pope needs to step off. I don't know.
Yeah, but it was awesome.
I think I said the Pope drew first blood.
Yes, that was a great line. The Pope drew first blood. That's why we wrote it down. So we were both wrong. We both thought Trump was going to win. Kasich won. Okay? Now, this is going to lead us into our new prediction. So this is fairly rare that we were both really wrong 1 month ago. I really thought that, Trump could be like throwing babies in garbage disposals and he was going to win. Okay? But Kasich came on and he pulled it out.
Did you see Kasich? I mean, I almost feel sorry for him.
Yeah, because he looked like he won homecoming cake. I won!
I told one of the other guys here, I said, maybe Ohio should secede from the Union and just have John Kasich as our president.
Yeah, yeah, we could have the state of Ohio. Yeah. We'll have our own country and Kasich can be in charge. Okay, now, I'm taking this, I'm putting this away into old, and we're going to beat this Donald Trump thing into the ground, okay? So I'm throwing this into
I also said all the way with JK.
Okay, this is the new prediction. Okay, now, I'm going to be very clear with what I'm saying. I'm not rooting for Cruz, I'm not rooting for Trump, I'm not rooting for Kasich. I am rooting for riots in Cleveland. Okay? Now,
so you don't care who wins as long as there's chaos?
Yes, I am rooting for chaos. I hope that by the end of the week they say we are voting to disassemble the Republican Party and we're going to rebuild it as the American Party. Or we're going to rebuild it as the...
Well, I heard on the radio today that apparently a group of conservatives...
Right.
I don't know who they are. They didn't name names. But apparently they're meeting to discuss whether they should have like a third party. I'm like, if they do that, they are so stupid.
Well, but we're going to go there too.
Because it's a guaranteed loss.
Me and you are going to go there, Ted. We're going to flesh this out.
But you know what? Then I think to myself, you know what? they probably know that, and that's probably why they're thinking about doing it, just so that Trump doesn't win.
Right.
They don't care if, they lose. They just don't want him.
Yep. Well, I agree. Now, we're going to flesh this out more. Today, okay, this week, 3/17, Kasich won Ohio. Trump is up over Cruz by 200 delegates, okay?
Yeah.
I saw a story today that said if Cruz and Trump split the delegates the rest of the way out, nobody will have enough delegates.
Yeah.
Now, if Cruz, by a miracle, wins 15 of the last 20 states, he can jump Trump. Or if Trump wins, I think it was 12 or 13 out of 20. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if they split it 10-10, neither of them go. Or say Kasich pulls off, just say 2 more states, right? And Trump only wins 10 more, he still can't hit the number.
I can't see Kasich winning any more states.
I think he still might win. Like, has Indiana done it?
I don't think so. I know Illinois has.
But I think he was close in Michigan. He wasn't real close, but he's a little. So a place like Indiana or Pennsylvania.
Michigan's already gone, right?
Michigan's already gone. I think a place like Indiana or Pennsylvania might go Kasich. And then
Because
maybe,
I think he's from Pennsylvania.
Right. And so that's why I still think he might steal 1 or 2 states and then enough to throw things into chaos. Now, what will happen in Cleveland? Okay?
Oh, we're looking for predictions?
Yep, we're going to do predictions. And I'm going to get very long-winded with this. This is why we didn't do it first. Okay? What will happen in Cleveland? At the end of the week, they will nominate Trump. Okay?
Okay, at the end of the convention.
What do I hope will happen? What do I hope? Chaos. I hope they pick Romney. Okay, now
So what you think will happen is Trump will get it.
Yeah, Trump will get it.
But what you want to happen...
Because he's a bully. Okay? So say he's 100 short. He'll be like, I was only 100 short. Just give it to me. All right? Now, this is what I hope happens. They come out and they say, listen, you are not getting it. You did not get the lever that automatically hit the 1,100 delegates or whatever. We are going to vote, and you delegates, we're going to throw, the rules are, we're going to throw all the delegates free. You can vote for anybody you want, including Mitt Romney, Jeb Bush, right? And then we're going to do it like you're voting for Pope, right? At the end of the first round, the top 5 people will make it to the second round, and then you vote for the top 3 of those, and then you'll vote for the top 2 of those. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I hope happens, because there will be riots. The second that Donald Trump is eliminated, whether it's the second, third ballot, Donald Trump will walk out of that building, call CNN. 30 seconds later, he'll say, I am running independent. I mean, literally that fast. Okay? Now, he will say that the Republican Party betrayed me. I'm going to betray them. Okay? Now, if that happens, and I'm just using Romney, you could interchange any of those names. Romney, Bush, Kasich, Paul Ryan. Paul Ryan came out today and said he's not interested in a split convention. He will not take the nomination. But one of these interchangeable guys, I hope they get it. Trump walks out. He starts third party. Then all of a sudden, you have Hillary, Trump, Romney. Okay? You know what happens there? Trump wins. Country goes right down the shitter. Okay? Because Trump, I don't know if Trump could win straight up against Hillary. Maybe he can.
You think if it was those 3, you think Trump would win?
Oh, yeah.
See, I kind of think Hillary would win if it was...
I think, well, again, this is what I hope. Now, some people say Trump can't beat Hillary. Other people say that they're afraid because they would. I'm sorry, I'm distracted. I gotta check the screensaver on here because I shouldn't be doing this. And we're at 37%, so we're good. We haven't lost that many percentages. But I think that Trump is either going to win flat out or he's going to be close enough and he's going to bully people into saying, listen, I'm going to be the nominee. Okay? But I want riots. I want to see somebody, Neil, how you doing?
Hear what?
I'm making demands here.
Neil knows that I want riots.
Oh, you want riots?
I want riots in Cleveland when I'm working for Carl this summer.
Oh yeah, even better.
We have and then we'll tell you a little bit of pull you behind the curtain of our workplace. In Seinfeld, do you remember?
What?
Is this live?
Oh yeah, this is live.
Okay.
Yeah, we're having fun. You remember the Seinfeld episode where Jerry walks over to Newman's apartment and he goes, "Why are you home? Why aren't you at work?" And he goes, "Well, it's raining." And Jerry goes, and Newman goes, "Well, I don't work when it rains. I don't work when it rains, and I don't work when it snows."
He's a mailman.
Yeah, he's a mailman, right? I know Neil's laughing because he knows somebody at work like that, right? So we got a guy who works here, right? And he said, he looked on the calendar and he says, Republican National Convention's in July. I ain't working that. And he took the whole week off. So guess who gets to work that week? So it's me. So when you see the Iron Mountain truck by the National Convention getting rocked and tipped over, that will not be Carl because that weasel took off. It'll be me. So when you're listening to Beacon of Speech and go, I remember that guy. Yeah, so that's the behind the curtain. So, but I'm still rooting for riots. I am, because I think it'd be funny. If this happens, okay, if this happens, I really believe that if they push Romney onto the ballot, that it'll dissolve the Republican Party. Okay?
Yeah.
Because he didn't run, and all of a sudden all these delegates are floating there. And again, I'm not saying Romney specifically. I'm saying Romney, George Bush, or Jeb Bush, I'm sorry. Not George Bush, he can't run.
Anybody but the two people who people want.
Right. Anybody, basically, except for Kasich or I'm sorry, not Kasich. Anybody except for Cruz or Trump.
Right.
If they try to push anybody else, there's going to be a riot. But again, and heard it on TV yesterday, one of the senior members of the Republican National Committee, you know what he said?
What?
Voters do not elect our candidate. We pick our candidate.
Yeah, I did hear that.
Yeah. So, say you somehow get Trump off the ballot, by hook or by crook, you're like boxing. You're signing your own death warrant by saying, we would rather Trump lose and us lose and Hillary win, like you said. Right? Now, I'm not putting this for the general election. I'm putting this for the Republican National Convention. Okay? By the end of the week, on July 21st, they are going to say Trump. Okay?
Right.
I hope that there is utter chaos. Right? Now, if there's no chaos and say Trump gets 1,300, I'll be even more disappointed because there's not chaos. Okay? Because I'm rooting for it. And and me and you have talked about this on Beacon of Speech over and over again. You know that I'm a big believer that the Republicans and Democrats are just two big corporations.
Yeah.
It's not about elections. It's not about doing the best for the country. It's about running the Democratic company and the Republican company. It's almost like Coke and Pepsi. And there should be a third party. Well, no, there shouldn't. Just two of us is fine. You know what I mean?
And in a way, going back to radio, what I was talking about, it's almost the same thing in radio because you have Howard Stern and Rush Limbaugh. They're like Democrat and Republican.
Well, that's the whole thing.
It seems like you only have two choices with a lot of things.
I saw that there's 10,000 radio stations in North America, right? But how many of them carry the Rush Limbaugh show? Like literally 1,000. I mean, so if that's 1 in 10 stations, that means every city in America carries Rush Limbaugh. Instead of having the Des Moines guy talking about farmers, one station in Des Moines has Rush Limbaugh. One guy in Boise, one guy in Lincoln, Nebraska. has Rush Limbaugh. I'm sorry, Ted's looking at me like he wants to say something. I'm sorry to filibuster.
No. I also think I don't know if you want me to go now. Or...
Yes, I was done. I was taking a drink. I'm sorry. So, at the end of the week in Cleveland, who do you think is going to be our nominee?
I believe Trump will be the nominee.
Okay, you believe in Trump too. Okay, well, you believe he'll be the nominee, not believe Trump per se.
Right. I believe he'll be the nominee. And I'm gonna make a prediction as to. Now you say you believe Trump will be the nominee.
Oh yeah.
Do you think he will get to 1237? Are you willing to make a prediction?
Oh no, I don't think he will. What do I hope? I'm gonna put in parentheses, not, what is it, 1237?
Yeah, I think it's 1237. I think,
but not 1237. Okay, so I put. Okay, so do you think he'll hit the number, but you think he'll be the nominee?
I do not think he'll hit the number.
Okay.
I think he'll get very close.
Okay.
I'm gonna say he'll get 1150.
Okay. Oh, you're gonna give us a number.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, 1150. Okay.
And I'll say that there's gonna be a little bit of a ruckus.
Okay.
But they're gonna end up picking him. And even though I'm not a big Trump fan, I started out, I was. But the closer it gets to looking like it's gonna be him, the more nervous I get. So I'm like pretty much backed away from him. And it's like, I think if they try to take it from him and bring some, I don't think they will. But I think if they do, that they are insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they just have to accept that
They have to
that he's the guy. It's
have to eat the shit sandwich.
Yeah.
Now, I read a little bit.
You know,
about
the thing is if he is that bad, like the establishment thinks he is,
right?
Either he'll lose the election, or he'll win, and then he won't be reelected.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If he's as bad as they are so sure that he is,
right?
The most he's going to serve is 4 years.
Yeah. And like I said, let him disintegrate the party. Like I said, the Democrats and Republicans, since the beginning of time, at George Washington, it was not the Democrats and the Republicans. It was the Whigs and the Democrats, but now the Democrats are the modern-day Republicans and stuff. So, you know, if Donald Trump causes the party to disintegrate and they have to rebuild the party, well, good. That's what you get. That's what you get for being out-of-touch a-holes who run the party like a corporation instead of listening to the members of your party. So you are... But I am hoping for riots. Are you hoping for riots?
I'm hoping for a disturbance of some sort.
We'll put not a riot, but a ruckus. And then you are also hoping... Hope for a riot, but not a ruckus. Or, I'm sorry, hope for a ruckus, not a riot. I'm sorry. I said it backwards.
What is a ruckus?
It's 2 steps below a riot.
All right.
All right.
I hope for a disturbance, but I don't want anybody to get hurt.
Well, me, on the other hand, I am hoping for a riot, and I am hoping that there's lots of trouble, okay? But I'm going to qualify this because I will be driving the Iron Mountain truck by the Republican National Convention. Do not tip over my van. Hey, Joe, how you doing?
Okay.
Joe Coughlin didn't come up, did he?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, we invited him. We told him he could come up, but I assume because it was St. Patty's Day, he wasn't coming here. If he left his house, he was going drinking.
Right.
And just for the record, Joe Coughlin is on hiatus to take care of his twin sons that were born 2 weeks ago, right?
When were they born?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. But about 2 weeks, give or take.
Yeah, so he's on hiatus, and I told him he could come up, but because of St. Patrick's Day, like I said, if he could get out of the house like his wife took a nap, I don't think he was sticking around and coming up here.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm going up to the corner and getting some corned beef and some green beer.
There you go.
So.
And remember what Dean Martin said, don't drink and drive because you might hit a bump and spill some.
All right.
Now,
Go ahead.
so you will be doing that route.
Yes, I will be doing that route over Republican National Convention. So that'll be fun. I'm hoping to be on the news. I'll be waving.
I don't know. I just like to picture like if the actual driver did not have that week off.
Yeah.
I picture him being like, you know, chased down the street by an angry mob.
Oh yeah, that's the best part. If he would have come in, that would have been funny. We would have made fun of him all week, and he would have been like, "Oh, this isn't fair. I don't want to do Cleveland." But like I said, I get the short straw, and you know that's the way life is. We started talking about Conor McGregor. We talked about the sport. We didn't really talk about him. I did want to bring up some more soccer stuff. I know you hate soccer, but I want to talk about soccer and some other sports stuff. At the beginning of the year, we said, let's adopt a basketball team, a college basketball team. And I said, let's adopt Cleveland State. Well, we hardly talked about Cleveland State, my alma mater. And why did we not talk about Cleveland State this year?
I don't know.
They went 9-23, and they laid a giant egg this year. So they really crapped out. And Cleveland State basketball is usually pretty good.
Yeah.
The basketball
9-23.
9-23. Yeah, so that's why we did not talk about them this year. I have picked a whole slew of losers this year. Okay? Now, in the next week or two, you're going to have to think about what baseball team we're going to adopt. Are we going to adopt an American baseball team, or are we going to adopt some crazy Australian baseball team from, you know, on the other side of the world? So you start to, because I'm doing horrible on adopting teams.
So can I adopt a major league team?
Yeah, if you want to do that. Or you could say I want to adopt a AA team from Altoona. You know, well, I'm leaving it up to you. You tell me what we want to do. Okay, so we're going to adopt a baseball team, not this week, but in the next week or two. Okay? Now, Swansea City, our Premier League soccer team. Now, they are not going to get relegated. There's 20 teams in the Premier League. Swansea City right now is in 16th place. Okay? So next year they'll be back in the Premier League. They're basically playing not to get relegated, which is to get sent down one level. We've talked about relegation over and over. Now, this is where it gets fun for Fred. Okay? Do you remember the team that Fred hates the most in the Premier League?
No.
Aston Villa. Now, I do not have any problems with the people of Birmingham. I do not have any problems with anything that has to do with Aston Villa. I hate them because of their owner, Randy Lerner, who's a spoiled rich kid who basically flushes money down the toilet. Okay? Now, I am going to tell you some of the most disturbing stuff I have ever told you on Beacon of Speech. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Aston Villa is in 20th place out of 20. There's only 8 games left. They basically have to win their last 8 games to not get relegated. That ain't going to happen. They're like 3-20-7. 3 wins, 20 losses, 7 ties. Something like that. Okay? Now, I hate them because of Randy Lerner. He owned the Browns, ran them into the ground, and then said, I'm going to the Premier League. And he bought Aston Villa, and he pumped up $50 million, $100 million into Aston Villa, and they went from the middle of the pack to the top of the pack. They didn't win, but they went to the top of the pack. Well, guess what happened this year? Now they're going to get relegated, right? Randy Lerner is the owner of Aston Villa. He no longer owns the Browns. 2 weeks ago, I watched a video on YouTube, right? What were the fans in Aston Villa, what were they chanting? I'm hiding. We're going to play $20,000 pyramid or whatever. What were the fans chanting about Randy Lerner 2 weeks ago? Remember, this is not in Cleveland where he tore up the Browns. This is in Birmingham, England.
What were they chanting?
Yes.
Iron my shirt.
Do
Do you remember that? Iron my shirt.
Oh yeah, yes. I'm sorry, that's funny. They were chanting, "When Randy Lerner dies, we're all having a party." Okay? Now, I did not read this. I watched a video on YouTube. They're in the soccer stadium chanting it. Not one or two guys, but literally hundreds of guys bouncing up and down in the concourse. When Randy Lerner dies, we're all having a party. When Randy Lerner dies, we're all having a party.
That's
When
kind
Randy
of
Lerner dies.
That's kind of a long chant, isn't it?
Yes! And it went on for 2 minutes, at least the video I watched. 2 minutes, no other words. Do you ever remember Browns fans chanting that in the concourses of Cleveland Browns Stadium?
I don't think so.
No, because they don't mess around in the Premier League. Now, we're going to have some more fun at Randy Lerner's expense because I am gloating right now. They said Randy Lerner, according to Forbes magazine, when he left the Cleveland Browns and he sold them to Jimmy Haslam, he was worth $1.6 billion.
Randy Lerner was.
Randy Lerner. Today, he is worth $1.1 billion. They said he literally lost $500 million. They said from the day he took over Aston Villa, if you average it out, from the day he took over to Aston Villa to St. Patrick's Day 2016, he lost $100,000 a day. And they're not saying, "Thanks, Randy, for trying. We really appreciate it. Thanks, Randy, for trying." No, they want him dead. Okay? And if we were chanting that, that would be on the front. Would you say that'd be the lead story on CNN and SportsCenter?
Mm-hmm.
The Browns fans are chanting for the death of the owner. They're chanting for the death of the owner in England. And all I saw was one paragraph in the Cleveland Scene magazine. And they said, basically, we're surprised this isn't getting more publicity, but the fans in England really hate Randy Lerner. That was like the whole article. It's like, which goes, and I'm going to tie this back into Beacon of Speech. You don't know where the line is, where things are outrageous or things are nothing. Okay? Ted, if I didn't physically see the video, I watched it, and if you want, I'll try and get it up on YouTube for you later to watch. Ted, it's clear as day. You can't miss it. They're chanting for the owner to die.
So when did this happen?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago?
Yeah, because they're getting relegated. If they get relegated, they're out of the Premier League. And me and you have talked about this. You don't care about Premier League.
And this is soccer, right?
This is soccer. And again, you remember 20, 30 years ago, they talked about soccer hooligans burning stuff down. They don't mess around over there. You took a spoiled rich kid, and he literally, again, we were talking about Jeb Bush, spoiled rich kid, flushing $150 million down the toilet. Randy Lerner flushed $100,000 a day down the toilet for what, 6 or 7 years? I mean, it's incredible, Ted. I mean, to me, it's unfathomable. And it's almost, at this point, it's like Monopoly money. And
now, this is the Premier League?
Yes.
Like, I don't know that much about soccer.
Right.
So who else is in that league?
Oh, the big ones are Manchester United.
Oh, okay, so it's the big league.
Yeah, Manchester United, Liverpool, Manchester City, Arsenal. You recognize some of those teams. You just don't recognize Aston Villa because they were never Manchester United ever. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But
so it's not like a minor league. It is the league.
It is the league.
Okay.
Some people, and again, we're not in Europe. They say the Premier League in England is the top league in all of soccer. Well, because we're not soccer experts, some people will be like, oh, no, the German league is the top league in soccer. And other people are like, no, it's not the German league, it's the Spanish league with Barcelona, right? Or the one team I like in Spain is Atletico, okay? I know I'm mispronouncing it. Atletico Madrid. Not Real Madrid. You know, you've heard of them, but Atletico Madrid. I like them. But they'd be like, no, top level of soccer is in Spain. Well, I think the consensus is the Premier League is the best in the world. I mean, if you want to send your hate mail and say, you know, the Spanish league is better, that's fine. I'll listen to your argument. Okay, I'm not here to disparage them. I really hope that Aston Villa gets sent down, Randy Lerner takes a bath, he has to sell it, and then Aston Villa can go back up in the Premier League next year. Or in 2 years, I'm sorry. What happens is when you're relegated, again, it's like in baseball, it's like going from the majors to AAA. Well, if you win AAA, you go back to the majors in Premier League soccer. So hopefully Aston Villa goes to AAA, Lerner sells them, and then they'll be back in the Premier League next year. Or, I'm sorry, 2 years. I keep saying next year, but 2 years.
Is there also a team like West Brom or something
Yeah,
like that?
yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
See, I think the only reason I know like a very little bit about, you know, English soccer
right.
is just being such a fan of rock and roll. Because I know
Oh, yeah.
like guys like Robert Plant, they have their, I'm not sure what his favorite team is.
Yeah.
But, and also I think Eric Clapton. Those guys really follow it.
They live and breathe. And I remember reading an article, I'll have to look it up, but it said, who's your favorite soccer team for the casual observer in America? And they said, well, if you're a blue-collar guy from Chicago, you would like Sunderland, right? Just for example. Or they'd be like, if you like the New York Yankees, you'll like Manchester United. You see what I'm saying? But there was one article.
I think that's the one that everybody knows.
Yeah. But they said, if you like British classic rock, these are, and they had each one of the teams who their followers were, and the only one that's on the top of my head is the guy from Oasis. He loves Manchester City, right? So, every soccer team was associated with a rock and roll star. And it was funny, they're like, if you just pick your favorite rock and roller's favorite team. So, you know, we'll look that up maybe I'll try and find that article and bring it next week, and we'll assign you a team for next year. But the season's almost over. Swansea's not doing anything, and they're in Wales anyhow, so.
Yeah, that's actually pretty interesting about, you know, Randy Lerner.
Well,
So I mean, is he like really threatened? I mean,
let's put it this way. We're going to go back to Cleveland.
is there like heightened security now for him?
Well, no, it's better. Let me take you back into the Wayback Machine. What happened in Cleveland when people started chanting "Jump Art"? Do you remember that? Do you remember when they found out they were going to move the team? What did they do when they started chanting "Jump Art"?
I don't remember.
Art did not show up to the stadium anymore, right? So Randy Lerner, who was already camera shy and media shy, they said that he wouldn't even show up to his box at Aston Villa. Well, does that sound familiar? I don't think he showed up the last year and a half he was in charge of the Browns either. You know what I mean? And they're like, where's Randy? And he's like, oh, he has important business in New York. You know, it's like, well, in England, even though he bought the team, they're like, well, where's Randy? And he's like, well, he's not available. You know, again, we're not talking about some low-level guy. We're talking about the owner. Where's the owner? Hey, he's not here. Yeah, we can see. We can look.
We hear stuff like that.
Yeah, we can look in the owner's box and see that Randy Lerner is not here. Where is he? Well, he's not here. You know what I mean? So I feel bad for the people of Birmingham, right? Because they're basically going through what we're going through. But in Cleveland, the rules were the worst thing that can happen is that you suck. In England, the worst thing that can happen is you can get dumped. You could get relegated. So that's why I'm gloating, because I'm like, good. They'll finally get rid of him, and hopefully we never hear the name Randy Lerner again once he sells. Because I assume the season what'll happen is let's say that Aston Villa is for, and I don't know what it is because I don't have it in front of me. Say it's worth $200 million and it's for sale. He's like, I'm going to give you a discount because you're my special friend. I'm going to give you $195 million, Randy Lerner, right? Well, once it gets relegated, the price of Aston Villa automatically goes down to like $50 million. You just lost $150 million of value, right? Well, the stock market, buy low, sell high. Why in the hell would you buy Aston Villa for $200 million if they're going to get relegated? Nobody's going to do it, even though there's a for sale sign in front. And Randy Lerner,
they're basically getting relegated.
Oh yeah,
unless they
win their last 8 games. Yeah,
and that's just not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. So Randy Lerner's in front of Aston Villa with a 10% off coupon, saying I'll sell for $190, right? And people know that once they get relegated, the price falls to between 50 and 75 million. Well, of course, you're going to wait it out. You're going to wait. The season ends in May. You're going to wait till May and then buy at $50 million, re-pump money into it, and then hope to go up the next year. And Randy Lerner's like, no, I'll give you 15% off. Well, guess what? It's going to be 75% off in a little bit, and you can't do anything about it. And that's why I said, good. Good. Have a nice life. But the only other, and again, I feel bad for the people of Birmingham, but the only thing that makes me feel slightly better, there's 2 teams in Birmingham. You know what I mean? Like, when I first followed the Premier League, I didn't really associate the teams with a city. You know what I mean? There's 20 teams in the Premier League, but there's like 2 in Manchester, right? 2 in Birmingham, and then 6 in London. Well, basically half the league is in 3 cities. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if they lose a team, they still have another team. Well, they would argue, oh, no, that's the west side of Birmingham. We're the east side of Birmingham. Well, who cares? You know what I mean? You'll still have a team at least.
Now, do you actually watch some of these games?
Oh, yeah. On NBC, I watched Game of the Week on NBC. They have it at 12 or 1 on NBC. So, but I also noticed that for the first time I turned on German soccer. It was on Channel 8 just this past week, on Fox. So apparently they got to be pulling at least a little bit of a rating for Fox to try the German league in the afternoon. But it goes back to what else is Channel 3 going to show at noon on a Saturday? They're going to be showing infomercials or, another local news.
Yeah.
So you don't have to pull that high of ratings in order to make money on Premier League. But it goes back to radio. Well, 10 years ago, NBC had no interest in showing soccer on TV, but now that they're bleeding money and they have to, have unique content, they're like, oh, all of a sudden we love hockey and soccer. Even if they're low ratings, they're trying to build something and try and do something outside the box. So I give NBC credit for trying to put a sport on at noon. There's not a lot of other sports on at noon on Saturday. I mean, college basketball, but again, they're trying something different. I'm sorry, you keep looking at Conor McGregor like you're baffled a little bit. You're like, what's going on with that guy? So, all right, I'm looking at the charge. I don't want to push my luck. We're up to an hour 20. So let me say 1 or 2 more things. I'm going to send a text to Joe next week, right? And hopefully Joe will be back because it won't be St. Patrick's Day, okay? So let me promote 1 or 2 last things. The movie that we did, me, you, Jan, Dan, Cliff, the name of our movies is Blasphemers. You can find that at blasphemers.com. Or I'm sorry, blasphemersthemovie.com. Don't go to blasphemers.com. You might get some sites you might not want to go to. My book is called American Suicide. That thing's 5 years old. That came out when R.E.M. called it quits.
Wow, that was 2011?
2011. I think it was December of 2011, but you get my point. You can also read my articles on top10s.net. I have 30 or so of them. Ted, do you want to promote your band, Wasted Space? Or is
No.
there? Do you want to reach out to the old Wasted Space members and tell them about REM that the whole reason you broke it up is because you didn't want to get you wanted to retain the friendships with them?
And apparently it didn't work.
You know, I'm still curious because you said the bass player was the guy who was the center, right?
Well, he's the one who seemed to get like the gigs for us.
Right.
But I mean, in terms of like the leader of the band,
Right.
like musically, it would have been the guitarist,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Well, just so you know, I said it about 5 episodes again. I had said one of my ex-girlfriends would be it would be a good, interesting topic if we ever made it on the radio. It would be lots of good arguing and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I want the lead guitarist from Wasted Space on. I want to see if he's cool or if he's like, you know, I hold a lot of grudges. Like, I'm glad Ted works at Iron Mountain now. I'll teach him a lesson.
He's being punished.
Yeah. So do you if I found him, would you be mad? Would I have to run this by you, or would you be like, you'd be open to that?
Nah, you'd have to run it by me.
Okay. Blah blah blah.
It's been a long time.
We are not going to do this. I think I'm going to pass on that. We got 3 magazines for the next 3 weeks, so you can keep the Sports Illustrated. I only have one thing left. There was a song that I really liked on the internet, and I really liked the video, and so I'm going to promote it. It's like 3 years old. The name of the band is Future of the Left. They are awesome. They're coming out with a new album in 2 weeks. I don't care. Future of the Left is basically the ashes of a band called McLusky. They're both awesome. You can't go wrong if you buy anything that's popular by them on iTunes. But the song of the day is Future of the Left. Sheena is a t-shirt salesman. It is a little play on words of the Ramones. Sheena is a punk rocker, but Sheena is a t-shirt salesman is a very good video. And I really enjoyed that this week. So check out Future of the Left when I guarantee you they will not disappoint with their album in 2 weeks. Do we have money back guarantees? If you buy Future of the Left, can they come to Beacon of Speech and ask for their money back?
We'll have to see.